You're listening to Bedroom Beethovens, where notable music makers break down stories accompanied by songs and melodies documenting growth through their 10,000-hour journey. And me? Well, my name is Cello, your host.
I am a bedroom Beethoven.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to episode 65 of the podcast. My guest this week is...
I'm MNDR. I work a lot with Tilky Monster, RAC, done some work with Killer Mike, Alchemist, and I am also a writer and producer. I've worked Rita Ora, Kylie Minogue. I haven't gotten any cuts with Rihanna, but I've worked extensively on her albums. So they're always pretty tough to get on, but so I don't know.
Empty the street, I'm going out tonight. Can't look around, got me feeling so bright. We can run, let it run. Jumping through the rail, we can all take flight. Can't look around, got me feeling so bright. We can run, let it run.
This episode was birthed by a deep-seated need to check in on us creative people to see how we're dealing with social distancing. And MNDR was nice enough to give up a slice of her day to swing by the podcast to chat about her upbringing, her place in the industry, and what lies ahead as we enter a new decade of music and opportunity. Tales of Mark Ronson, Q-Tip, and special guest California legend MURS swings by to add a layered discussion of all things MNDR. Hey guys, real quick before we jump in head first, bedroombeethovens.com is the website. There you can check out the social outlets like YouTube. You can like, comment, and subscribe. You can find this podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, CastBox, Google Play, anywhere you find your podcasts. And look, I get it. You just want to stay in bed and curl up with your cats and binge watch TV. Who wants to go outside or explore podcasts or listen to new music? But it's times like this where creatives must push forward and podcasts are deemed an essential business. So here I am. Don't forget patreon.com/bedroombeethovens. There you can donate $1 or $2 to the show. You can keep it ad-free. And I appreciate everyone who checks out the show week after week. Episode 65, MNDR. Boom. Let's go.
We can run, let it run.
This all started from a tweet where you're just checking in on people and encouraging creative people to stay creative. And I thought, that's my mantra through this whole thing. So I'm glad we could connect.
Amazing. Well, I'm glad to be a part of it. Thanks, Marcella.
And I know you have your own podcast series, so this is just ultimate love on both sides. You didn't have to do it because you have your own, so I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I did. I ended up between albums. I have another album coming out this year, which was supposed to come out in May, but we're moving back, obviously. So I'd done like 18 features, so I decided to do a podcast series.
Well, yeah, and I bet Coconut's happy that you're around the house more too. So
the nut is stoked.
It's really cool for people to get behind the scenes of some of your notable moments because I'm not familiar with people like Mikna and Emil and the Sniffers and Sheer Mag, so I'm falling down a musical rabbit hole thanks to you.
Hey, whoa, respect. Yeah, I have a huge varied taste in music. I like punk and noise and like post-hardcore and rock. I got, alternative to electro and Midwestern electronic music, techno house.
Yeah, it's sad that the e-girls are splitting up.
God, didn't even know. that didn't even know. That was God, I love this. I didn't know, but that does suck. That does suck.
Yeah, because I mean, my taste is eclectic too, and I
yeah, tell me about your taste.
I mean, yeah, and the reason why, literally, I didn't really have to keep tabs on you because you kept popping up, on my playlist. I listened to MURS, I listened to Alchemists, and then I listened to EDM, and obviously RAC, and it's very eclectic. And I know you work with like Jamie Carrero, who was kind of did your visuals, and now he's a wildlife photographer. So like life is just super crazy the way people take different avenues in their career.
Yeah, Jamie just like defined like my live show. Really, such a talented dude. He went to RISD and to MIT.
Whoa, yeah, and I know the Rain Brothers too. They're pretty crazy too. They're all very talented people.
Absolutely.
I guess what I'm interested in is like a little girl through her formative years. We both have this eclectic taste in music. You had interest in classical and jazz, metal, and experimental music. Where did that eclectic taste stem from? Were you in a musical household? Were your parents influential in that?
Yeah, so my I grew up on a farm. My families are farmers in North Dakota, and my dad, he was a musician. He was in a soul band, like kind of like the Guess Who, kind of one of the they do reviews, kind of like medleys of the hit songs, and his band was pretty big regionally up there, called the Movement Unchanged, and this would be in the mid to late '60s, and then his life, he ended up having 4 kids. I'm the youngest, and his passion is music, and he built a very modest little 4-track reel to reel in our basement of the farmhouse. And so we constantly had people over, and he loved making medleys, and he would write originals, and so it was music happening all the time in our house. And then I studied piano concert. I was like a competitive concert pianist as a kid. So but I also accompanied my dad's a really great singer. So we were kind of on the wedding and funeral circuit. so I was his piano player a lot of the times for those.
But this is the whole nine, though. You would wake up and like milk cows and wrangle sheep. Like, was it really, really growing up on the farm?
Yeah, but we didn't have animals. It was just like we grew stuff, and it was cold. And it was cold, and we couldn't even get cable TV. So in the winter, my imagination just ran wild, and I sat down in the basement with all my dad. My dad had an awesome record collection, so the influence of like Mitch Ryder and the Detroit Wheel Stax records, that was what he was into.
I've been crying 'cause I'm lonely for you. See about me, baby.
So I really got to give it up to my dad for like opening up like great music to me when I was a really impressionable real kid. So, and just like, it wasn't like we all played music. It wasn't like, oh, you're special because you play music. It just was like, oh yeah, it was part of our family culture and kind of the culture where we're from. People played music. I don't know, just some farm stuff, I guess.
Well, when you set out to do songs like where, aristocrats are eating diamonds or Caligula or Egyptian lover taboo records, is there like a large percentage of fans you think where the deeper meaning is lost on them? Like maybe, they're singing your songs or grooving out, but they don't know the deeper meaning behind it.
That's like so again, like this living in seclusion. Well, we weren't secluded. We were just isolated physically. Like there's only 2 people square mile where I'm from. So for me, like learning about records, like this is something Mark Ronson and I would always, Mark and I would talk about, is how we would just get a record, learn everything we could about it. All the producers and this was like, I mean, I'm going to date myself. I don't really get I don't care. It's pre-internet. So you'd like dive, you just like sucked up any information you could. And same with like lyrics. I love lyrics that are just so multi-layered that you could just take it. Like, I think Talking Heads did a great job of that. You could just take it face value, or you could like take it a lot further, and really like, oh man, what's going on here? So I like Easter eggs in general. I like little, like if you're a fan of my music, there's little Easter eggs all throughout all the music.
I like that too. Yeah, hopefully we'll find a couple in this interview, because I was trying to find the video for Burning Hearts. I couldn't find it. Did you get in trouble with like the location? Is that why we can't see it?
We never posted it because there was like so this is a video off of my first album. It was a single, and we filmed an entire video at Disney World. And and obviously like total, DIY, like not permitted style. But at the same time, someone else had filmed something at Disney World and got absolutely like nailed with like legal issues. So because I was still signed to Ultra Records, we had to like pump the brakes on that because like Ultra owned the property of the video, and so they were kind of like freaked. So we had to pump the brakes, but we have a plan for that. That's coming out this year.
Yeah, because 7 years later, people like me we're still searching for it.
It lives on a hard drive, but yeah, it's gonna happen. It's cool that you brought that up. That's cool.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm a hip hop fan as well, and there was a period of time in rap where all hooks were sung by Akon or Nate Dogg or even Mark Ronson when he did Ooh Wee, he used Nate Dogg actually. But a pop vocal is such a pleasant contrast, and I'm glad someone like MURS used you.
Oh man, that was like the MURS episode is coming on my Pandora IGTV series of featuring me. MNDR is coming up, and I have to tell you, like, I mean, I'm a hip hop fan too, like huge, and I was just like when my friend Jesse, the producer, hit me up and was like, yo, MURS wants to see if you want to put a hook on this record. I was like, are you kidding me?
MURS is going to stop by for this episode. He has he's going to add some layers to that.
What? No, I don't think I've ever been like two of the biggest moments of my life was being in the studio with Q-Tip, watching him and talking about the verses for Bang 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 and No More Control with MURS.
I work with MNDR on a song on my album Have a Nice Life called No More Control. I was introduced to her by her neighbor and a writing partner, Jesse Shatkin, who's been a friend of mine and someone I've produced and worked with for over 20 years. She came in and she was just like a longtime friend. It's weird. She was like professional without being business, which like someone that like when Jesse was describing what she had done and who she had worked with, I was kind of intimidated and nervous.
I was just like, oh my god, like don't say something dumb. Like I was just freaking out. Wow, that's crazy.
She came in and was just it just flowed. We weren't like some people come in the studio, then you become instant friends, and you don't get any work done. Like she was friendly, and I had like love and respect for her at the end of the session, but it wasn't all fun and games. But it wasn't just business. We didn't talk about any money or numbers, or there wasn't a lot of name dropping. It was just the focus was the art and really working to get it right and being open to suggestion, but still coming up with our own ideas and definitely feeling the song. The song was important to me, and it was a unique perspective, and she was respectful of that, and I think she brought it home, man. I think she's the star of that song. Her voice is amazing.
It was a super legendary moment, man. Oh my god, MURS. Okay, cool. That's so cool. All right.
The words, it was dope, man. I haven't really worked with someone at that level since I don't work with a lot of singers. I'm really like a traditional, old school kind of boom bap, classic rap kind of dude. So when I work with a vocalist that's not like a traditional R&B vocalist, it's rare.
For police brutality up at the park, but when we killing ourselves, don't nobody want to march. We got to start to take a look in the mirror. If we don't respect ourselves, then they always gon' fear us. If Black Lives Matter, then Black Lives Matter, and the color of the killer shouldn't even be a factor. Most of these rappers ain't equipped to lead, cause most of these rappers illiterate, can't read. This is educated street music for the educated street movement. It's fucked up what the police is doing, but motherfucker, look what we doing.
She made that experience way less awkward than I thought it would be. and I'm a fan of her as an artist and a human being.
When you're DJing in the Bay Area, did you play a lot of hip hop?
You know, I mainly did techno. I'm like a freak for Detroit and Chicago. So it was like techno, minimal, Jeff Mills, Carl Craig, like all that sort of stuff. So that was like, but in New York, I would do, I've done like I did a 5 borough set. That was kind of rad. That was fun.
Because in the Bay Area, you had the hyphy movement at the time with like E40 and Mac Dre and all that.
Yeah.
So that was a pretty crazy time. But yeah, you know, you mentioned at the top of when we talked, you know, you were working with Duran Duran. I think the whole thing is very serendipitous because that's a band that came out before you were born, and now you're opening up for them. I think it's all pretty amazing.
You know, for a good like 4 years, I had the opportunity to just be around them, and because Mark was, while we were touring in Mark's campaign for Record Collection, that he was producing an album for them. And they were also on that record, so we were doing shows together like constantly. And then it was so awesome to work with them because they love to make music. Like their new albums are amazing. Like it's not a nostalgia like, hey, remember you know, Atari, Duran Duran. You know, they're like, it's like a great show, and it's great to see like people loving what they do for as long as they've been like this legendary band. It's really crazy.
So for someone like me who only knows Hungry Like the Wolf, I'm doing myself a disservice. I need to dive back in and see what they're all about.
Dude, yeah, what's staggering to me is the amount of hits they have. And so I filled in for Nick Rhodes for 2 months, like in 2015, 16. And we were on tour with Chic. And, you know, Nile Rodgers did a lot of their big hits. So every night we're like in an arena playing, and I'm just like, there's Nile Rodgers, what? And like the original drummer from Chic, it was crazy, dude. I was like, what is going on? Like, it's like, I wish I could just like record that, and I don't know, it's just very weird to be like, these people are legends and this is like a passing moment in your life, you know, you just kind of want to freeze it.
So how do you do that though? I mean, you I think in 18 hours you learned all the set songs. I mean, that's a monster work ethic.
Yeah, I was, you know, before MNDR, I was like scrapping it together, you know, there was like not a safety net here. And I did some music directing, like I did some for the Yeah Yeah Yeahs, and I was like a hired bass player, keyboardist, a lot of tours and with my own bands and other bands. So I had some good experience of having to do that, but never like under 24 hours for one of the biggest bands ever to do it. Like ever in the world.
Yeah, that's crazy. It's just because, like, I understand, like, when a record company signs you, they also want to make sure you don't fail them. So they're going to try and get you to produce the kind of music that's like people who are successful at the time. So I always wonder, like, you know, what's the point in like American Idol auditioning 10,000 people? Can't they just sign a pretty face, get Mark Ronson to produce for them, shoot a sexy video? Because if you're a superstar and a unique individual and you don't have an established reputation and you're crafting a debut album, how do you push for creative control? How do you know which hills to die on when it comes to battling your future? Because I knew you wanted your debut to be very dark and 909 driven, but
yeah,
you know, you were able to like push for what you wanted at such a early time in your career.
This is the best interview ever. I've always wanted to talk about this because a lot of people were surprised at how long it took my debut to come out. It actually was done after the Bang 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 single, like at least 3/4 of it. But this is just the way I approach this, and there's no right or wrong way of doing this. Like, just to give you give you and the listeners, like, you know, some premise, like, I had no experience in the like major label record industry side of the music industry. I was like a touring independent label type of artist and musician and like someone you'd hire in your band. And so these things kind of came crashing in, and I had no idea how to traverse these waters. They're wild when you have like a hit record with a huge producer. What I understood, like the reason Mark Ronson like reached out to me to work And the reason those opportunities came is because MNDR was already going and I was touring and because people liked the songs. And so I just kind of stayed true to that. I was like, I don't want to change this because people already like what I'm doing. Like that was one of the hardest mountains I've ever climbed in my life, for sure, because people, the record industry wants to be like, you should do TikTok, Kesha, like whatever. Let's chase those sort of production sounds and songwriting and I no shots to that music. I just had no interest in that, and so that pumped the brakes and slowed momentum. But I think at the end of the day, I still have a vibrant career, and I don't think I would. I think I would have got churned out pretty quick and had some pretty awful records that I'd be really embarrassed of.
Yeah, because back then we had the Katy Perrys and the Lady Gagas, but now we have the Billie Eilishes and the Sias and the Brooke Candys. And I don't know about you, but I'm seeing this era in music that is redefining sexuality and redefining women's roles and redefining what's art. From your perspective, is the music industry still behind the times in terms of gender politics?
It's changing and the artists are changing it. Like Rewind 2010, I was a producer and songwriter. And I mean, if I'd gone the big pop route at the big major label, I would have had no control, no production input, no songwriting input, right? That's like not that long ago. I mean, and that's just that's just facts on the ground. That's not me criticizing the industry or whatever. I'm not playing, that's just how pop music was. And now, with the power of social media and how powerful that got, now artists are able to be at major labels and really like define their own space in a way, and because their reach is more powerful than like a big marketing budget, their personal reach, their one-on-one reach with their fan base. So, and because of that, I think like the artistic boundaries and like the pushing everything is, you're actually able to push it because it's coming from the artist perspective in an honest way. So it's exciting to be an artist right now. And it wasn't that long ago where that wasn't, if you signed to a major label, very few got to keep artistic control, at least in my experience.
Yeah, your debut was inspired by this performance artist named Marina Abramovic. And if you dig into her life, she had a tough time as well breaking into the art world. But this was like back in the 70s when performance art wasn't taken seriously because it was a male-dominated majority. But, she's had a 50-year career right now. But for the past 40 years, performance art wasn't even considered art. So what's crazy to me is that she had this incredible trust in her own intuition to survive, and she believed in performance art so strongly. So there's this cliche of chase your dreams, never give up. But when you don't give up for 50 years, I mean, that's a long stretch. And even at 71, she's still performing, and it's crazy because her generation is gone. I just find that kind of strength just amazing.
Yeah, I mean, she's just like an nonstop source of inspiration for me, and a lot of the experimental music I've made, and I just, I always say like I don't know if I could live with myself if I can fail doing me, like without any apologies, and not making any, like, just no apologies, like making exactly what I want to make and putting it out in the world. But if I like bent those for what someone else thought I should do and I failed, I don't think I could forgive myself. You know what I think? I think I'd be a really tough pill to swallow. And I feel like she kind of lives her life that way, like, and exploring the edges of her creativity.
Do you think you would have been compromising yourself more if you work with Ronson now? Because this was like everyone's knee-jerk reaction was, oh, that's Samantha Ronson's brother. Like, you couldn't even pick him out in front of a group of people. Now it's Uptown Funk and Miley Cyrus and Lady Gaga. You think that if you worked with him now, would you have had to compromise a little bit more because maybe you guys were on even footing and you guys were able to put egos aside and create the amazing music you did at the time?
Man, you know what, Mark? I don't know, man. That guy is just like 100%. That human being is just like maneuvers a creative. Like, here's a guy that can put the most random weirdos into a room and get something great. I don't think that would be an issue. I think it would always be. He is like the art, the creativity, the creativity, the creativity. That's his deal. And he's old school producer. You know, he curates the room and the talent and he has a vision, and then he assembles these cast of like total bonkers characters. I mean, putting me in a room with Q-Tip? What?
Yeah, I remember when you were on Letterman with Ronson, and Letterman walked over to Q-Tip and was like, "You must be Q-Tip." And it's crazy that Tribe can have this hip hop legacy, and 15 years later, he's still relatively unknown to a CBS audience, a more white audience, if you will.
Right. Yeah. God, isn't that wild? Like one of the legends, like the Beatles, like, you know what I mean? Of hip hop, like Tribe. Yeah. Yeah, of course.
You must be Q-Tip.
Yeah.
You know, Ronson DJ'd Katie Holmes and Tom Cruise's wedding. Would you have done that as a DJ? Would that have been? I don't know if that's a nightmare gig or glamorous.
Hell yeah, I would have done that. You get paid. Get that money. No problem. Yeah, I would have done that. No problem.
2010 through 2019, I think we kind of covered the beginning. You went from a girl on a farm to probably crossing off a lot of things on your bucket list. And the footnote being that Billboard recognized you a part of their greatest dance songs of the decade. And the self-isolation thing is temporary, but I really do feel like the next decade for you is going to make the last look tame in comparison. I really do think that.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm really excited. Actually, Mark and I, I have a new album. It's done. It's mixed. It's mastered. Mark and I worked on a song together, which was one of the singles that the title track. And it's a song I demoed that he'd always loved. And he'd be like, "Can I have this song for this project or this project?" And I'd be like, "I don't know." And then, and then I got stuck on it, and he just took it over the top. He knows exactly what I love. Like, that's what I love about that dude. Like, he's just a digger, you know? And I was like, come on, dude, you nailed this.
I know you were going to release a new single, but you kind of pumped the brakes.
It was a dance floor single in the style of the Detroit, Chicago that I love and grew up on, but it just didn't feel right. So we're actually this song. We're actually moving to another song called "Fragile." That was I was going to keep it as an album cut, and I had a great video idea for it that I think I'm going to still do. Obviously, when we can not be socially isolated, but it's a record I wrote about a year ago, and it just was during a really hard time in my life, and just decided to move that should be a song we put out and highlight, and hopefully it touches some people and connects some people and gives them some solace right now in the midst. So there is going to be a surprise at the end of this week. So I'm excited about that. And the album, I'm just beyond excited to share it with everyone, with the world. It's called "Hell to Be You, Baby," and I think it shows a lot of all the influences and all the musical influences in my life and in one album. And it's an album, and it's a concept album, and it's a listen from top down.
Shake, shake my body. I'm in the deep end. It's getting deeper. The rain is pouring down onto my body. I must be dreaming. I'm going under. Need you to pull me close to you. 'Cause the river's getting wider.
Well, I think too many people are too concerned with commodifying their creativity so fast. So I'm glad you're pumping the brakes and being socially conscious about not releasing music during this time. That way people can enjoy the music at a time in their lives when they aren't worrying about where their rent money is going to come from. So I think people are going to appreciate the singles. We're all anticipating the album, and I just want to thank you, man, for just coming by on the podcast and during these trying times and giving me a piece of your time, because I know it's valuable. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. This is great.